Welcome, everyone. Welcome. We're so excited to have everyone here. We are just going to wait another minute or two. We're so excited about tonight with our alumni and our amazing speaker guests. We are just letting a few more people in, and then we are going to get started. But you guys are in for an incredible event tonight. We're so excited to have our speakers and to share some words of wisdom. I hope everybody got to see their TED Talks, but if you haven't, I would certainly encourage each of you to watch them. So I think we're at 6:32. So I think we're going to get started, and I'm going to again thank everyone for coming. We're so excited about this evening. It came together very quickly with our alumni group, the Turtle River alumni. They're called TRM Ivy. And the alumni group, Olivia Metzler and Anthony Frigo and Mateo Fizz, they were brainstorming about some things and they wanted to do something really special for the 8th graders. So we are going to be recording this. We're going to be sharing portions of it at the graduation ceremony. So we're so excited. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our speakers, and then I'm going to introduce our alumni so we can have them give the handover and the stage to our amazing speakers tonight. So I had the good fortune of meeting and working with Kartik and Rochelle at TEDx Boca Raton in 2018. They are both incredible. It's amazing. And we're so honored and grateful to have them here. And this, again, was so last minute. So we're humbled that they were able to work with us to make it happen in their busy schedules. So I'm going to give you a tiny slice of what these both of our speakers have accomplished. But again, it's a tiny slice because they've done so many incredible things. So Kartik has been developing video games for 30 years, including blockbuster entertainment franchises, Guitar Hero, Skylanders. Skylanders alone was $3 billion in revenue. It's in the top 20 all-time video game franchises. And by the way, we have boxes of Skylanders characters at home from the Wii. I know my son was playing with Skylanders for years. Kartik and his team recently partnered with Nintendo to launch another off-the-charts hit, Mario Kart Live. Their latest fast track game is Knockout City. And by the way, I had this prepared just a few days ago, which it says it had 1 million downloads. They're at over 2 million downloads now. So it is on the fast track to another blockbuster hit. So congratulations. Kartik holds degrees in computer science and psychology from Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute and earned his MBA from MIT. His memorable TEDx talk was called Aspiring to Fail, which he believes is one of his secrets to success. His company was recently featured in Fast Company, among many other publications, as the world's 10 most innovative design companies in 2021 for reinventing play. Kartik also believes in paying it forward to the next generation, obviously, because he's here tonight and we're so humbled to have him. And I'm also going to introduce Rochelle and then hand it over to our alumni who will be leading this event and opening it up for, after our speakers speak, to open it up for Q&A. I know they have a lot of questions to ask about their journeys to success. So Rochelle works at Facebook and is a member of MIT's Space Telecommunications, Astronomy and Radiation Laboratory. It's called the STAR Lab. Her research focused on optical laser communication, space radiation, and satellite engineering. Her PhD research was sponsored by Facebook's Connectivity Lab. She also worked at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab. In 2019, she received her PhD in aeronautical astronautical space engineering from MIT, Department of Aeronautics and Astronautics. She completed her BS and Master of Science degrees in aerospace engineering at MIT. As an advocate for women in STEM, she founded MIT Women in Aerospace Engineering and currently serves as co-president for MIT Graduate Women in Aerospace Engineering. Her goals are to empower women to pursue aerospace engineering and develop communications technology to provide internet access to impoverished countries. And she talked about that in her TED Talk, which was called Connecting the Unconnected. So again, we are so incredibly honored that these two amazing individuals are here tonight with us. I'm going to toss it over to our alumni group. Olivia, do you want to get started? And then you can, what I'd like to do, each of the alumni is going to make a mini introduction to themselves, just a couple minutes each, and then we will open it up to the speakers.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll go first. My name's Olivia Metzler. I went to Turtle River for 8 years, so a while. And now I go to A.W. Dreyfus School of the Arts. So I major in communications, which is, like speech and debate, film, radio. I do student publications. And in my past speech and debate tournament, I placed 9th in the state. And that was in congressional debate. So a lot of that. And then also with academics, I'm really into like sciences. I have my AP biology exam this Thursday. And so in the future, I'm hoping to take some classes at, I believe I'm taking some next year at either Palm Beach State or FAU, dual enrolling part-time. And currently I'm in the class of 2023. I'm a sophomore now. But yeah, mostly what I'm doing right now is school, a lot of debate and stuff and science. So normal academics, if anyone wants to branch off of that.
So I'm Mateo Fizz. I attended Turtle River for 8 years, and now I'm finishing up sophomore at Jupiter Christian School. And I'm getting ready to start with 4 college credit classes next year as a junior. And I really like being able to apply all the different things that I learned at Turtle River about leadership and being able to time manage, and all those things really apply to my day-to-day life. And now I'm very interested in business and taking dual enrollment intro to business as well as marketing, and I really enjoy it. And I think that TRM really jump started my love to push for the things that I really want to excel in.
So I'm Anthony Frigo. I attended Turtle River for about 13 years. I'm also at Jupiter Christian finishing up my sophomore year. I'm also going to be taking dual enrollment intro to business. And Turtle River really helped me at a young age instill a really great work ethic that I still, utilize today, both in football and in my school academics. And so I really appreciate Turtle River for that.
Awesome. So do you guys want to share a little bit about your goals with the alumni group and why you wanted to put this together for the 8th grade graduates? And I just wanted to let our speakers know too that we are recording it, and hopefully we'll be sharing little sound bites of the presentation at the graduation, which actually happens on Thursday this week for our 8th graders. So Olivia, do you want to share a little bit about what made you guys come up with this concept?
Yeah, so I know for me personally, I didn't attend Turtle River for my 8th grade, but obviously it was still like a huge year for me, a big transition into high school and everything. So we just wanted to do something special to commemorate. A lot of students at Turtle River especially have like entrepreneurial passions or are really into kind of like the business and the science aspect of kind of marketing. And we thought that we would kind of combine that all into one and do this presentation to commemorate obviously such a special event, which is transitioning into high school, which is a big transition, but I promise you guys, Turtle River prepared you super well. So you guys are going to do great. And yeah.
And one thing I just wanted to mention, all 3 of our alumni here attended the TED Talks with Kartik and Rochelle. So they actually asked me independently to reach out and see if we could get both of them to present tonight. So we're just so thrilled that it was able to come together so quickly. Anthony and Matteo, would you like to say any words before we open it up to our speakers to share their stories?
Well,
Oh, you
go
want to go,
ahead.
Mateo?
You got it. You got
Okay. I really think that Turtle River, like I said before, instilled a really great work ethic. And the one that I personally, I learned it in, I think first through third grade, and I still utilize it today, you know, with the work cycles. And it really helped me in middle school a lot because I learned how to manage all my, you know, classes. And I really think it's important to, you know, continue on the Turtle River, you know, journey.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I feel like with this group, we can show the graduating students how like the things that the alumni are working on, and it can also like inspire them to achieve greater things because maybe they feel like they can't do as much since it might be a smaller school, but they can see that after leaving Turtle River, that really prepares you to go into any environment that you need to and get into it and fit in perfectly.
Great. And so I think we're going to open it up to Kartik. We are so honored and blessed to have you here, Kartik. And yeah, we just wanted you to share your story and maybe some words of wisdom along your journey. I know your TED Talk talks a lot about failure, and you've obviously had so much success. We'd love for you to hop in and give you the floor. So again, thank you so much to Kartik and Rochelle, and we'll get started with your story.
All right. Thanks so much, Cindy. Happy to be here. First of all, congratulations to all the eighth graders. It's a really big deal, and especially the challenging year that everybody's had. For you to all kind of work through that, you know, as a class and getting on the other side. I'm sure you know, you're excited about high school, and you know, and I also want to just say that I'm a Montessori parent, so I'm a big believer, and so it's amazing how much, you know, it prepares you. I see that, you know, with my kids, and my oldest is going into eighth grade, so you know, and already ready to go into high school, I guess. But really, Montessori education does so much to prepare you. It's amazing. So yeah, as Cindy mentioned, and you might have seen the TED Talk, you know, read the profile. I've been making video games for quite a while now, and been really busy. We just launched our new game on Friday, Knockout City, which is a online multiplayer dodgeball game, and you know, we wanted to make a real competitive multiplayer action game that anybody can jump into and play. It just launched on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, and it's been hectic. You know, we're a small. This is actually my second company, but we're a startup. We have almost about 100 people now in the studio. My brother and I started it about 4.5 years ago, and this is our second game as this studio. And we've already got 2 million people in the game over the weekend, and we've got it's climbing fast. And so if you're into video games, check it out. It's actually free right now for you to download and try out. So check it out. But we've been like super busy, you know, running this global game, and people from all over the world are coming together and having fun, which is just awesome to see. You know, prior to this game, our first game that we launched as this new studio was Mario Kart Live, which we designed an RC car with a computer in it, and it's augmented reality, and it brings the video game into the real world. And it's something that we invented at Valen Studios, much like Knockout City, and we partnered with Nintendo and had the great pleasure to work on Mario. I mean, as a gamer and as a video game developer, that's kind of a high point. But it's something that we only got to this point because of 25 years leading to that point, you know, and now we're coming on actually 30 years making video games. And so we can always look at like all these like big things, Skylanders, Guitar Hero, Mario, and but it doesn't start that way. And it, it might be where we're at today. But my brother and I started our first company called Vicarious Visions, which is part of Blizzard now. We started that when we were in high school. I was in 10th grade and my brother was in ninth grade, when we started our first company together. And I'll tell you a little bit about that, about those beginnings. So, um, you know, we didn't, my family, we didn't get our first computer until I was in high school, and we couldn't afford it, and but I really got into it, and we thought it would be pretty cool, like playing games, but we couldn't really afford to buy a lot of games, and but we were really fascinated by it, and and I was just scrounging around for spare parts to try and build a better PC. And this is before the internet, and I know that's like really hard to imagine, but the internet wasn't around, and CD-ROMs weren't around. You couldn't play video on a computer back then, and so very primitive, comparatively speaking. But my brother and I had a love for video games, uh, and I happened to meet somebody who was also starting up a company in his basement with his brother, and this gentleman was in his late 20s, and he had already worked at actually he and his brother worked at like Xerox and Kodak, and they had other engineering jobs, but they left the comfort of being in a big company to pursue their dreams of being entrepreneurs and being a startup. And they were doing that, and I met this gentleman. His name was Paul, and uh, he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I'd love to make video games." And he said, "Why not? Why don't you do it?" I said, "I'm just a kid. What do I know? And I don't even know how to program. I don't know how to do this. And what do I know about starting a company?" And he's like, "Being a kid, that's not an excuse." And so he went to his bookshelf and he pulled out a programming book and an animation software, and he said, "Here you go. You got no excuse. Go learn it. Doesn't matter if they don't teach it in school." And back then they barely had a computer science class, and it was it was not a cool thing. And it's like everybody's got an iPhone that's like a million times more powerful than what we had um, back then. Anyway, he said it wasn't an excuse, and of course I didn't want to let him down. So he was willing to help us and be my mentor, and that's when I really understood the value of that kind of mentorship and support. And so I started learning, and my brother started learning as well, and I would work for him for free after school, and while he was doing his startup as part of that. And that's what we did. We had our idea for our first video game that we were working on, and we had to learn how to program, and my brother was doing art and that sort of thing. And um, and by working, for Paul, you know, it was an opportunity for me to actually get involved in the industry. And he was working on some really cool technology around audio and VR back in the early 90s, which was just super cutting edge at the time. And so I had a chance to actually um, go on business trips and go go to trade shows where there'd be showing products, and I would like learn how this was being done. And my brother and I worked like 2 3 other jobs as well to be able to just scrape together money and to be able to fund our little startup. And we had no idea what we were doing, we were just figuring it out along the way. Kind of the most important thing was, here was somebody who, you know, who believed in us and like said, look, this is not an excuse. And like, just being a kid, it's easy to like kind of just do what everybody else is doing. But we didn't want to do that. We kind of wanted to follow our passion, and of course we had to still get good grades because our parents would really be upset, if we didn't get good grades and go to college and that sort of thing. But we were juggling both things, and we actually built a demo of our first game, and we were able to get a publishing deal. And when I was a freshman in college, and my brother was still a high school senior, and we were able to actually get our first game published, and we got totally um, we failed at that, in that we got the game done, but the publisher didn't return our phone calls, and basically published the game, made money on it, and didn't pay us what was due to us. And I was left in a lot of debt. By the time when you get to college, you realize that credit card companies will give you credit cards easily, and uh, and it's easy to rack up those bills on your credit card. So be careful of that when you get older. But I did, and I ended up being in a lot of debt. And I remember I called up my dad. It was Christmas, and I called him up and I said I was in a lot of debt, and he gave me the best piece of advice I've ever gotten from him. And he said, "How much debt are you in?" And I told him the number. It was a big number, and he's like, "I don't have that kind of money. You got yourself into this mess. Get yourself out." And he hung up on me, and that was Christmas. And so I had to learn from that, and you know what? I had to own that, right? And this is something I really wanted to do, and my brother wanted to do it, and we had to own that. We had to figure it out, and we did, and we were able to get some investors and additional mentors and support, and we had to build it the hard way. And so we learned a lot in that process. It was not, when people look at like other successful people, like when you look at, it doesn't matter who you think about, whether you think of movie stars or whether you think of other entrepreneurs or other people who you think are successful. It may look easy. It may look like overnight they were really successful and they became big, but usually that's not true. And it's usually like success is not like a straight line up. There's a lot of failures along the way, and there's a lot of lessons, because that's how you learn. And it's actually very Montessori in that way. It's like you experiment, and you see what works and what doesn't work, and you get support, but it's really your own motivation that's going to get you there. And we built it. I mean, there's just so many stories. I don't want to really bore you with that, but like, and even now, there's just so many new challenges that we have, things that we've never seen before, and this is what's going to happen. You're going to end up in encounters where, I've never experienced that before, and you can talk to other people, and you're going to be in situations where they haven't experienced it before, and it's like the first time. And it's the way you kind of learn. Like, I'm constantly learning new stuff. We launched this new product, and we're doing things with it that we've never seen before, and we're all learning, and we're continuously doing that. And the faster you can learn and like adapt and figure it out, the more successful you're going to be. And you got to be just okay, as I said in my talk, you got to be okay with failing, because it's not a bad word. It's actually a really good word. And it's when you just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome, that's bad. But if you learn from it, and you adjust and be flexible, you're going to be fine. And this is going to be this this is probably helpful when you're going to high school, but it's going to be helpful as you think about, what you want to do. At the end of the day, though, I think it really comes down to like, what are you passionate about? And because that's what's going to get you through all of the difficulties and hardships. And then, you'll wake up one morning and you're like, wow, I did that. That's awesome. And other people are going to be like, how did you do that? And you can, share your words of wisdom when that happens. So I will stop right there. I'll hand it over to Rochelle, and we can maybe have questions after that.
Yes, that sounds great. Kartik, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was so many great little nuggets in there. It is all about a journey. So thank you so much. So Rochelle, we'd love for you to share your story, and then our alumni are going to lead the questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Thank
hi
you.
everyone, my name is Rachel. So I finished my doctorate at MIT. So essentially, I'm what's called a space doctor. So my job from day to day is to design satellites and space systems and things that go into space. And then my job is essentially beyond the design is to make sure we can survive in space and also evaluate if there's something going wrong with the spacecraft or the satellite. How do we fix that? So it's a little bit different. Like I wish I started my own company. It's still something in the back of my mind for some future endeavor. So I'm just going to offer a little bit of a different flavor about, my journey and how I got to where I am. So I know many of you are, transitioning from 8th grade to high school. This is a very exciting time. I just want to encourage all of you that as you enter high school, just stay open-minded and explore. Some of the things that I remember when I was in high school is that I constantly struggled with comparing myself to my classmates. And especially because all of you are so smart, you're coming from this Montessori school, you're all very, intelligent and hardworking and persistent. That, when you get to high school, it's going to be a different ball game where you have other students that are just as ambitious, just as intelligent, and you're going to look around and want to compare yourself to what your classmates may be doing. And I want to tell you that's normal. And, even as you go through high school and college and the rest of your life, that's going to keep happening. But I want to just, my piece of advice is just to focus on what you're passionate about, focus on making sure that you're still learning, and just focus on that. Don't focus on what other students may be doing or, what they may be achieving, because later on down the line, if you just keep doing what you're passionate about and working hard at that, then, you're going to accomplish great things. So my journey, I did college through my PhD at MIT in space systems engineering. So when I was in 8th grade, I did not know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And then even when I went through high school, at that point when you're applying for colleges, you're supposed to say, this is what I want to major in, or this is what I want to do in my future career, but I still didn't know. So it's still a process. When I was applying to MIT, it was my dream school because I knew that I wanted to pursue math and science. To be honest, a piece of it was just more of exploration. So I'm Filipino American. And so typically, most people in my family that I looked up to, many of them were nurses. They were all in the nursing profession, which is such a great profession. However, I realized around the time that I was in 8th grade and early high school that I was terrified of like seeing blood and, all those things that nurses are exposed to. So I knew from then, like, I wouldn't be a great nurse. Like that just wasn't going to work. But the other side of me that I really liked was, math and science and exploration. And so I was like, okay, what other career fields are there related to like math and science? And so in high school, I just started joining clubs, joining science clubs, joining the math team, joining the robotics team. And to be honest, I wasn't, on the math team, like I joined because I wanted to learn, but I wasn't, the top math team member where I was, #1 in the state math competition, or on the robotics team, I wasn't the team captain, or on the science team, I wasn't necessarily the one that was like leading and driving all of the experiments. But that's where I say, don't compare yourself to your classmates. As long as you're learning and you're growing and you're having fun in this process, just keep doing it. And so for me, and all of these clubs that I was exploring in high school, just to figure out what I wanted to do, I just made sure that I was learning from other students, from teachers, and I kept pursuing that. And so by the time I applied to college and I knew, hey, like, let me shoot for my dream to go to MIT and do something in engineering, I applied, and I didn't think that I would get in because, I wasn't the #1 state math champion or all of these things. But I still happened to get in because I persevered and did a lot of different activities in high school. And I think when I was applying, MIT really valued that I stuck with something that I was really excited about. I didn't have to be the best at it in the state or in the world, but because I was, exploring science, but also doing community service and things that I was truly passionate about, and developed like leadership experience with that, eventually working my way up to be, president of a community service organization. I think they really valued that. So I think that's the side that I want to give for some advice as you enter into high school. Feel free to join a lot of clubs, extracurriculars, try new things, because it really marks a new ground for you to learn more about yourself and what you're passionate about. And then even, as you continue making these stepping stones, after going from 8th grade to high school and then from high school to college, it's the same thing. Just continue to challenge and challenge yourself to learn and grow. The other piece of that is just to really keep persevering. As I mentioned, you don't have to be the best at everything that you do as long as you're learning. And I think that's what got me through. Even for me, like I enjoyed math and science, but there were times even when I was studying engineering, taking intro physics at MIT, there were times where I was failing exams, and really brought down because, I was like, I don't think I can do engineering anymore because I'm really struggling right now. But I continued to persevere. And then once, I got through those classes and started taking classes that, taught me about space exploration, or, how to launch a satellite, how to launch a rocket, and design different things for space. I think because I was so passionate and into those topics that I was able to learn and get through those subjects. So I guess the other piece of advice that I would just have is just like continue to persevere. There's going to be a lot of road bumps. There's going to be a lot of times where you doubt, maybe I shouldn't do this because I'm not great at it, or, I'm failing, I'm struggling. I would just encourage you to just keep pushing through a little bit more, and eventually you'll make it out if you're truly passionate about that topic or that subject or whatever it is. So that's kind of just background, trying to transition my experiences, like when I think about myself when I was in 8th grade and high school, to where I am now. And I went through 8th grade, high school, not knowing where I wanted to be, and I just eventually found my passion for space, and that's where I am right now. And even though, I'm working a full-time job, I'm graduated from grad school, I still ask myself, what do I want to do when I grow up? So it's a constant question that you ask yourself. And I'm still growing and learning every day, as Karthik mentioned. And so just make sure that's where you're at in everything that you're doing.
Wonderful, wonderful words of wisdom. We're so, so grateful and humbled to have both of you. And one thing that I just have to say, both of you are so incredibly successful and so humble. And that's just such a wonderful trait. And I just want to share that with the 8th graders and all the students as well, because obviously you've accomplished so much, and just to be able to give back, and we're really grateful for it. So I'm going to toss it over to the alumni to start leading the questions, because I know I have a bunch, but I'm not going to take over. So Mateo, do you want to get started with a question and
Sure.
lead that?
So I'd say I can apply to both you guys, but what do you think is like the main thing that you attribute your success to?
Well, I can go. I would say tenacity, just sticking with it. You know, as Rochelle even pointed that out, it's like it's there's going to be times when it's really hard, and then there's going to be times to celebrate. And and most people just don't see how much hard work, and you know, you've already kind of put a lot of work into it. You know, especially like through middle school, you know you see it, and you gotta put a lot of work into it. And I think sticking with it to develop and hone your skills, and also I would say surround yourself with people who you think are better than you. That's been an important philosophy for me. Is like the the team. I can talk about like all this cool stuff that I've worked on, but it's really a team, and it's really this team that we've built, and they're just so smart. They're humble. They're incredibly creative. They're like they're brilliant, and you can't help but succeed when you're like surrounded by people like that, you know. And it really ups your game as well. You know, you really have to bring your A game to it, you know, every day. And so when you stick with it and you're selective about the, you know, your friends, your coworkers, you know, your classmates, and this sort of thing, where it's you know, where it's just really positive and um, you know, and hardworking. You know, it totally rubs off on you. You know, and it's like that was like my MIT experience. Oh my God, just the brains and the collective brains in the room is just unbelievable, and unbelievable how much you learn from your classmates as you do your teachers. So that's what I would say. Rochelle.
Awesome. Rochelle?
Um, from my perspective, I have to agree with what Karthik said. Maybe just to add on, I think in terms of people, a good part of it was just having really great mentors and champions. I think when I was in, you know, high school as well as college, just having people to help guide me in some of the decisions I was making, even if it was small things of, you know, what should I pursue? What club should I be a part of if I want to, like, you know, end up applying to MIT? And then once I was in college, it was really having mentors in industry to continue teaching me and helping me grow and develop. So I would say finding really strong mentors and champions and people that can guide you as well. The other aspect of people too is network. You never know who your friends are going to be like, you know, 10, 20 years from now. So, you know, even though you're, you know, in eighth grade, just, you know, try to keep in touch with your friends, continue meeting people, because you never know that, you know, that one classmate that you had in eighth grade, you know, they might start the next like unicorn startup or something like that and be your source of like a job, or they could be your co-founder because they're really good at, you know, computer science or business. So I really encourage you all to stay in touch. Like I stay in touch now with some of my classmates that I went to college with. And it's crazy because I, you know, I was struggling with these classmates. We worked on group projects together, and I just connected with them. And I'm like seeing all the awesome things that they're doing. One of my friends, his startup just raised like $14 million like yesterday, you know, and I just remember, you know, hanging out with him, doing homework, trying to struggle on a project. And, you know, we still talk to each other time to time, but you never know that, you know, that one friend that, you know, you maybe eat lunch or grab pizza with sometimes or do a project with, just stay in touch. And you never know, like down the road, like they're going to be your greatest allies or your team if you ever want to start something. So that's other, I guess, another aspect of success is just who you surround yourself with.
Thank you very much. And actually, if I can go off of that, since you were talking about mentorship, I was wondering if you had any tips on someone who is young and looking to start out their career and acquire like a mentor that can help you out and like lead you in the right direction. Like, how can you find the right person?
That's a great question as well. I mean, I think that there's a lot of different resources. You never know um, where you're going to find that mentor. You can certainly look through school and teachers or um, friends of your parents, and there's a lot of different potential sources. I find that um, it's those people who like found good mentors. They knew that they needed one, and then they were like actively looking. And you kind of think, is this person going to be a good mentor? Am I going to learn a lot from that person? And you'll part of it is fit. You're going to feel like whether this person, you connect with this person, if they've got your back, and whether they're giving you helpful advice. You kind of know. And so the more people you meet, you're kind of interviewing them, but they're interviewing you as well. And there's a deal there, right? If they're putting time in to like giving you advice and support, you got to deliver. And I knew that, like I got that like early on, like even though nobody ever told me that, but it was like I feel like I have a duty and I have an obligation to like not let this person down, and and listen, because if you're not going to be a good mentee, if you're not going to like sort of listen and sort of follow through, they're not going to stick with you. And um and so part of it is like you're going to look for fit. They may not necessarily be like they're an expert in the field that you're going into. That's not necessarily a mentor. It might be, but it could be just somebody else who's looking out for you. And it's like all of the other skills, all of the other soft skills and other things to kind of watch out for, and somebody you feel comfortable sharing and listening and following through on some of the advice. But it's up to you to go look. Nobody's gonna like come out and say, I'll be your mentor, and that kind of thing. um you've got to be proactive about it.
Um, I agree as well with Karthik. I think just to add on to that, I think if there is someone that you want mentorship from, I think there's two routes. I think one is if you're already in, a certain club or a class. If it's like a teacher, you're in their class, or if it's you join a club in high school and there's an older student that you want mentorship from. I think in those settings where you're continuing to see that person day to day or interact with them in activities, I think it's more about relationship building and having that relationship of mentor mentee happen organically. The more you interact with them, the more questions you ask, the more you do to help them, the more you do to show that you're really interested in getting, at least for the teacher, getting a good grade, or for the project club, really contributing more time to that. So there's that one way is organic, continuing to build a relationship with the people that you see regularly. I think if it's mentorship from someone outside, where you don't see them as often, I really think a lot of people are open if you reach out. If you send them an email, you send them a message on Facebook, you send them a message on LinkedIn or things. A lot of people are always excited to give advice, especially to younger students. And I think I would just start with that. But if you do reach out to someone to be a mentor, it initially starts off with maybe just asking very, specific questions, not like you wouldn't want to email someone and just say like, hey, would you be my mentor, right? Because it's not actionable. Like, they can say sure, but like, how can I mentor you, right? I think it's about reaching out to someone and just saying like, hey, I would really like advice on, how I can become, a mechanical engineer, how I can get better coding skills, or how I can get an internship at this type of company, or how I can, start my own company and do this. And so I think make sure you can definitely reach out to people, definitely put yourself out on a limb like that, and people are more than happy generally to give advice. So I would just do that and have very specific questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's great. Do we want to toss it over to Olivia? Anthony?
Yeah, I was just gonna thank you so much. Okay, so I know like I really kind of resonate with what both of you said because I personally myself like took additional classes this year so I could take extra like sciences and stuff because that's what I'm really passionate about. Like this year I took 2 extra classes so I could take 3 sciences total. So it's definitely something I really want to like keep continuing with my passion and stuff, but I definitely it is like a lot of weight on you and a big burden and it's like easy to get kind of like burnt out and tired. And I know both of you kind of talk about like failure and motivation, talking about perseverance. So I'm just wondering, how do you both stay motivated after experiencing like a failure or after being repeatedly knocked down, and what keeps you going after that?
That is such a good question. This is a really good question. You know, I I think even when you get knocked down, it's just sort of like picking yourself back up and you know, like failure is not defeat. It's when you give up, that's defeat. And you know, it's you gotta reflect back on what didn't work, what could I have done differently, you know, and you know if you start pointing to lots of things, oh, it was that person or it was this situation, you point outward all the time on why something didn't work, it's hard to learn that way. You kind of need to point inward, and so when it's easy to get sort of overwhelmed, and I think that when you do take on a lot and it doesn't work out, you kind of need to take a step back and look at, well, what did you learn, what experiences did you get, because those are always positive, you're always like making a step forward. And this is something sometimes people miss because they think that like failure is actually just steps back, and in a way it is, but if you actually think about it, you you learn a bunch of stuff from it because you have the memories of it, and it's always going to take you steps forward. So I try to think about that. I try to think about, okay, what have I learned, how do I apply that going forward, and then try it again, and maybe do it a little bit differently. And it's just, I don't know, I guess I'm never satisfied. There's always like things that can be improved, or like new challenges to sort of take on, but it's also important that you take breaks, and that, you know, because it's easy to just get so consumed with the classes and tests and part-time jobs and everything else, and you don't give yourself a break. um, and especially when you love what you're doing, it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like work. You're willing to put all that time in, whether you're like into theater and music, whatever it is. Like you could really have that consume you, and but it's important to like really sort of change it up and take breaks so that you can kind of regain that energy. And that's always been, you know, really important, whether it's just relaxing or hanging out with, you know, friends. Sometimes you got to like, you know, put it away. And to be honest with you, like, I don't know if it's a Montessori thing or what, but like even with my seventh grader, uh I gotta tell her to stop. You know, because she's like, she works really hard and all that, and it's like, all right, you got to take a break and let's play video games. But it's like you gotta take a break and do something else. And I think that's really important when you're like managing your energy, and you can't take yourself too seriously. I know we all do. You know, you're probably here because you take things seriously, and that's good. But at some points, you got to just, you know, not, and not be, get over yourself and not be so hung up on yourself. And I think that helps a lot, you know, in terms of getting your energy back, and then just kind of rolling with the punches, you know, when you do get hit.
That's so good. Rochelle, do you want to add to that? That's so much great wisdom there.
Yeah, sure. I think, yeah, this is definitely a hard question to ask. I'm trying to like reflect on what I did in those times where I was, quote unquote, knocked down. And I think it is just taking it day by day. Because even when you go through something difficult, right? Like you're gonna maybe fail an exam or fail a project or not win a certain competition or mess up on something. I think obviously I think it's just about one, self-care, like Karthik mentioned, just taking time to kind of give yourself space, relax, see friends, and just kind of recover. And then after you give yourself time for just self-care, I think it's just evaluating, like sometimes there are times where you're going to have to walk away after a failure because you learn that maybe that's not the path you have to take. But I think again, for me, after times of failure, feeling burnt out, I have to ask myself, do I love this enough? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, all right, like day by day, like, today I'm just gonna, you know, continue on and sign up for the class again and, retake the test, right? Like baby steps. But I think if you realize through that process, like, like I absolutely hate what I'm doing right now. Like I failed, maybe this is not for me. I think you have to continue asking yourself more than just like in that moment, because sometimes your emotions are so overwhelming that you're telling yourself that you don't love it anymore. But I think it's really digging deep and seeing, if you love the thing that you're doing, and if you do, then okay, take it day by day and just, gonna have to start over or keep going. And so I think that's essentially what it is. It is for me. And then I actually have to go right now, but I am so glad that I got to meet everyone virtually. I'm sorry that I have to go, and if there are any more questions, just please connect with Cindy for my email. Happy to do, another like Zoom call with different people or students or whoever just that has further questions or like just wants to talk more. So thank you so much, Cindy, for this opportunity to just
Thank
meet
you.
everyone and
We are honored
everyone.
to have you. We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes anyway, so we're so grateful. Thank you so much, and yeah, and we'll be in touch. Have a wonderful night, and so many words of wisdom for the students. We're so grateful. Thank you,
Nice meeting you, Rochelle.
and for us grown-ups too, right?
Thank you.
Okay. So Anthony, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. Actually, it was who would you consider to be your biggest inspiration to what you have achieved, sort of career wise?
Uh, that's an easy one, actually. It's actually my dad. And so I had a tough relationship with my dad growing up because he was so hard on me, and he was because he obviously just just like any dad, right, wants the best for their kids, but it was tough, and actually my folks were not supportive of me with with doing the startup and video games and all of that, and so that was a really difficult difficult time growing up, and now he thinks I work too much. But anyway, uh, but he also worked really hard, and I didn't understand it at the time when I was younger, but and I didn't really understand all of the hardship that he went through and what he gave up, for the family. But what he went through, you know, it's my life pales in comparison to what he went through. And it wasn't until later that I was starting to realize that, and because I kind of had my own worldview on that, and so as I got a little bit older, I started to understand that, and I didn't want to let my folks down. That was part of it, but he's been a big inspiration, and that's a big part of it for me personally. And I don't think I don't know if I would make quite those same decisions, that he made really bold decisions in his life when there was a lot of failure, and he had there's a saying of like turning adversity into advantage, and that's what he did time and again, and he got kicked down so many times, but he just kept going, and that I realized that, and that's that's been sort of ingrained into me, and so I know it sounds hokey, but my dad is my hero.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm sure I was going to let the other students know if they had questions to ask in the chat. I know Olivia and Matteo and Anthony, they had told me before we started they had a ton of questions. So if the other students, if we don't get any questions in the chat, we'll just go through. Matteo, do you want to ask your next question? And then I also wanted to just say we're going to wrap up on time because I'm so grateful and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we'll just maybe have a final question.
All right. So I was just wondering, specifically with starting a company, for someone like for me, for example, who's young and but wants to start a company, what would be a good way to acquire like early stage funding if you don't have a lot of credibility or like enough like of a proof that it'll work out without like having to get debt?
That's a really good question, and it's a little bit of a chicken and egg. It depends on what you're trying to do, but you kind of need to, like, if I were to draw an analogy to video games, it's like building a prototype, building a demo, building a small version of the thing that you want to do, to show that you can actually like make something. It may not be the full realization of what you're trying to do, but you need to show some demonstration that you've got some capabilities and that you're willing to stick with it. And it's not just you as an individual, it's kind of the team that you build, because it's really hard to do, and there's very few, like, I can't think of any examples of somebody building a company and sort of doing it all on their own. I don't know if that really truly exists, but it's sort of the team that you build. And so the thing you want to think about is, like, when I started my first company, it was actually just about the game that I wanted to make. And then it's like, oh, I need people to need to build a team to be able to make this game. And really it's about making this game, this product that I'm trying to build. And after we got the first product out and it wasn't successful, I actually thought about what I really enjoyed the most. And what I enjoyed the most was actually the people and the team that we built and what we were trying to do as a team. And that was actually what was really fun. And so when you're thinking about the company that you're building, it's not just about your idea that you need to demonstrate as a product, but it's actually like how you become like a really functioning team. And like, you've worked on team projects before, right? I'm sure you've worked on team projects where the team didn't necessarily get along. There were some team members who weren't really pulling their weight, or they didn't care, and then there was other team members that did, and then there were projects maybe where it was like it just clicked, and you had like, and it showed in the work, the final work product, right? It's because you've got this really great team that you put together, that where the chemistry and the skills and stuff. So when you think about starting up a company, it's about putting that team together as much as you're trying to put together some proof that as a team you can make a little something. And so when investors, especially early stage investors, I'll give you a secret, they don't really care that much about the business plan because everything's going to change. They don't really care about the product that much either because that's going to change. It's like they invest in people. The good investors, they invest in people. And so they like look at the team and they look at the founders and they're like, are they going to stick with it? Are they going to be adaptable? They're going to learn. They, if the whole thing changes on them, what are they going to do? That's what they're actually really evaluating. And so it's you should be thinking about the people that you're bringing together. And for me, like in high school, it started out with high school friends, and then other professionals that we were able to hire later on. And like in college, it was college friends, and like we didn't know what we were trying to figure it out. I don't think I realized how lucky I was with the friends that I had, and how ridiculously smart they were, and they're some of the best, you know people in this industry. We've grown up together and we've done a lot together, but like that innate who they are, they've always been that way. And they were like my classmates, like my lab partner. It was like my roommate. And this is the team that we put together, right? But it was like a really kick butt team, that we put together. And like when we did get investors after we like failed on our first product and I was in debt, I ended up getting some investors. I got a mentor, and I got some seed money to kind of get going, but they were betting on the team that we put together, and that was the value. So think about that a lot. Think about who you're bringing together. I knew like right at the beginning when I wanted to do the startup, I wanted my brother, and it's like it was going to be the two of us, and no matter what. And we've been business partners for 30 years because of that.
I love
Thank
that.
you.
That's
Yeah.
a great note to end on. And again, I want to be respectful of everyone's time, especially yours, Kartik, because again, I just want to reiterate to everyone, this is a great lesson and a takeaway how busy you and Rochelle as well are, and that you took the time out. You have a family, you have a business, you're juggling a million things, and we're so grateful and that you've taken the time to spend with us and just share so much of your wisdom. So again, so grateful. I'll let each of the alumni say thank you before we leave, and then yes, we will definitely be sharing this with the graduates. A lot of them are here, but we'll be sharing it with the parents and everything on the graduation. So
Well, look, it's my pleasure. We're all busy, but you'll find like it's even successful people, and they make time. And you know, you may be going into high school, but you're all going to change the world in your own way, right? So go do that, and I think that, and then you'll be asked to give back as well. So I'm really excited for what you're all going to accomplish.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you
Everything you
very
said,
much.
like, really was definitely relatable and resonated, I think, in all of our lives. So
thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. Again, Kartik, thank you so much. Good luck with the new game. Just another shout out again for everyone who joined a little later. Can you just tell them before we get off?
Yeah, go download Knockout City. It's such a fun, like social, competitive, dodgeball game that you can play online. It's a great time, for everybody, and it's an easy pick up and play, but there's a lot of challenge to master. But and it's a good laugh. It's
Looks so
uh,
cool.
yeah,
The graphics look amazing. So yeah,
it's
I can't wait to read about that company next. So that app next, that
thanks.
video game.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you again, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Kartik, and have a wonderful night. And yeah, congratulations to the graduates.
Yes, congratulations to the graduates. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks all.